Welcome back to the shop, guys. It's the most common question I get by people that are doing their research, that are looking at buying a C5 Corvette. Which years of the C5 generation are the best, and are there any years in particular that I should stay away from? It's a fair question, and in fact I would say it's a mandatory question, especially if you're the one that's about to shell out 15 to 20K on a 20-year-old car. We're going to dig a little deeper and see if we can find the answer to this question that's both objective and supported by facts. We'll do all that and a whole lot more next.
Toys for Life.
Before we go any farther, if you already own a C5 Corvette and there's even a remote chance you're going to be mad at me if I pick a year that's different than what you own, please stop the video right now because I don't want to lose you as a subscriber. Now, that having been said, the C5 generation ran from 1997 through 2004, and they made about 35,000 Corvettes each year, except for 1997, where they only made 9,700 Corvettes. The launch of any new generation automobile never goes perfect, and it's this first year of manufacturing that the manufacturer sorts out any remaining supply issues or manufacturing issues. It's also the time period where the first round of customer complaints start to come in based on real-world issues that arise that were not anticipated. And you absolutely better believe the GM and other manufacturers compile these complaints at a national level to see what issues need attention. It's for these reasons and the fact that they only made 9,700 C5 Corvettes in 1997 that we're going to eliminate the 97 C5 Corvette from our silly little best year of the C5 generation video contest. Next, let's talk about what I believe to be the most serious issue C5 buyers need to be aware of before starting their C5 search. The electronic brake control module, or EBCM for short, is the module that controls your anti-lock brakes, active handling, and traction control. Model years 1997 through 2000 have the first generation EBCM, and the problem is it's no longer available from GM, and if your unit fails, it's almost impossible to repair. Trust me, people have tried through the years, and it's almost always they're not repairable. And lastly, if you can find a used one, it'll cost you well over $1,000, and it'll probably come with minimal or no warranty. And for these reasons, I would seriously avoid purchasing a 97 through 2000 C5 Corvette. There is one exception I can think of to this rule. If you're the kind of person that doesn't mind not having anti-lock brakes, active handling, and traction control, kind of like cars in the 60s and 70s, and the light is already on in the dash indicating there's a defect with the system, then if the car is for sale at a serious discount because of this, you might want to go ahead and make the purchase anyway. But do not buy one of these earlier models where the light is not on in the dash, because if you do purchase it and the light comes on during your ownership, congratulations, you probably just took a $1,000 to $2,000 hit. Now let's go back to our trusty chart and eliminate these years from our best year of the C5 generation chart. We're getting closer. We're down to only 4 model years left, the 2001 through 2004 C5 Corvette. And to be honest, any one of those years would be a pretty decent choice, but you didn't come here for decent. You came here because you wanted to know what year is the best year C5 Corvette. So let's whittle it down a little bit further. The 2004 C5 Corvette has its fuel pressure regulator and fuel filter located inside of one of the gas tanks. Now, that's worked out okay for the first couple of decades of the car's life, but now that the 2004 C5s are 18 years old, I kind of think we're going to start to see more fuel filter and fuel pressure regulator issues. And the decision to put them inside the tanks was purely an emissions-driven decision. So in my mind, why not just avoid the issues that these two components could potentially cause and go with a 2003 or older C5 Corvette where they're located right out in the open and easily accessible. Since we're picking on the 2004 C5 Corvette, let's talk about their magnetic ride control shocks, which are awesome shocks, by the way.
Magnetic selective ride control keeps the car poised and balanced, giving the driver a greater sense of safety and security. The damper force, which opposes the motion of the road wheel, is controlled by varying the electric current applied to an electromagnetic coil contained within the piston of the damper.
The problem is when they wear out, and they will wear out, unlike the earlier years of the C5 Corvette, you can't simply use simulators or have it programmed out of the body control module to switch to the more traditional, readily available, and affordable shocks. You've got to replace them with magnetic ride control shocks, which, by the way, are going to cost well in excess of $500 for each shock, if you can even find them. So for me, that's a real potential problem waiting to happen that I'm not really comfortable dealing with. So for those two reasons, I'm going to have to eliminate the 2004 C5 Corvette from the best year C5 competition. Let's finish up our silly little contest by eliminating 2 more model years. 4 years of C5 owners complained long enough to GM about excessive oil consumption that the end result was GM releasing a technical service bulletin which included a repair procedure to fix the issue. Here's the Cliff Notes version of the technical service bulletin. Number 1, you had owners complaining of excessive oil consumption. Number 2, when measured, oil consumption was as high as 1 quart for every 400 to 600 miles. Not 1,000, but 100 miles. Number 3, the issue was made worse when the C5 was paired with an owner that frequently drove it at higher than 3,200 RPMs, which that's not all that high actually. And number 4, the fix was for LS6 motors, they started by replacing the engine valley cover to see if that fixed the issue. If not, then they treated LS6s and LS1s the same. They replaced the number 2 piston ring and oil control ring to see if that fixed the problem. Not a small job. I'll put the technical service bulletin numbers on the screen below here in case you want to look them up. So by updating our chart, we're going to be able to pick a winner to the silly little best year of the C5 generation contest, but don't head for the exits too soon because I've got 3 more pretty significant rolling upgrades that were made to the C5 that you're not going to want to miss. So the winner of the best year of the C5 generation is the 2003 C5 Corvette. Now let's talk about a few more pretty significant upgrades that were made as rolling changes during the C5 run. For the manual transmission guys, the internal components of the torque tube were made larger and significantly stronger sometime in late 2001. I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or not, but for the automatic transmission guys, internal components to the transmission were made more durable at about the same time. So if increases in horsepower are in your plans, you may want to hold out for a 2002 to 2004 Corvette. And lastly, in about 2001, GM blessed the LS engines with stronger rod bolts. So any of you guys that are planning to extend the maximum usable RPM range of your engines through either a camshaft or a supercharger, you may want to strongly consider holding out for a 2001 or newer Corvette. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this silly little best year of the C5 generation contest. Keep in mind, I love all C5s equally, so please don't be offended in any way. And if you learned anything from this video, please consider hitting the thumbs up below, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe.